Sir. Yes, sir. Good. Right. How's the vibe for the weekend? You do realize it's Friday today.
Doesn't feel like it, but...
Right. Let me relieve you. Dasha, if you want to see what they say, you can just switch it on the projector, please. The button that's orange. It should turn blue. There we go. Right. If you've missed it, it's I've given you off tomorrow. You know that. Everyone know why?
Because it's Heritage Day.
It's Heritage Day. You're right. Okay, there's a couple of us joining. Thanks, Ruan, everybody that has joined. Today's the final in the series. Yeah. Today's the final in the series of revision sessions in preparation for your test on Monday. However, I think we also need to realize that although you're writing a test on Monday and we need to prioritize, we also need to find a balance. It is Heritage Day tomorrow. Most of us fondly refer to it as Braai Day. If I have to celebrate Braai Day, I would have Heritage Day every day, basically, because I just see Braai as a very nice way of preparing food. A lot of people associate it with a kuier. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. It could just be, and that's what our ancestors did many years ago. I mean, that's how they cooked the food. That's how they prepared the food. Okay, no microwaves, nothing like that. No air fryers. So they obviously went the traditional route, and that's, I think, probably why a lot of people have, and especially in South Africa, it's remained part of many cultures. It's part of the tradition. So Heritage Day for me is, I think, important for you to realize that yes, we're going to light the fire and we are going to celebrate, but I would like to find something South African that you are proud of. Somebody, something. It doesn't have to be, it could be a person, it could be an event. Find something to celebrate, because we are celebrating our heritage, because there were many people for centuries before us who did many things, some good, some bad, that resulted in us being where we are today. And we can so easily, I think, fall into that doom and gloom of, oh my goodness, there's nothing to be proud about South Africa because look at this and look at that. You know what? If you look hard enough, you don't actually have to look hard enough. You can just look around you. There's a lot that we can actually be very proud of. Find something or somebody that you're proud of and celebrate that tomorrow. And thank everybody that came before you in the last number of centuries that enabled us to be here where we are today. That's not my speech for the day, but that is just to set the trend and remind you that today can actually, you know what, depending on what, I mean, we're doing sales and operations. I mean, you have two types of salespeople, the glass half full or the glass half empty type of salesperson. The glass half full person would say, oh yeah, today is Thursday. Today is Thursday, but tomorrow is long weekend days off. I'm somebody that very often says, because tomorrow is off, tomorrow is a public holiday, today might be Friday. Regardless, tomorrow we don't have to be woken by alarm clocks, and our routine doesn't have to be as structured as it usually is. Gives us a bit of a breather, so eventually we'll find a balance, or hopefully we'll find a balance, but more about that later. I think we've done chapters 1 to 7 up to this point, and we only have to do chapter 8 and 9 today, so I'm convinced that depending on how many questions you might have, that we will definitely knock off a bit earlier. And this is your last period for today, or do you have class after this? I know that you've been, this is the last period for the day, so why not give you some discount? Okay, that's just in the true tradition of a good salesperson. Obviously, part of a sales process is negotiation, so you'll have to come up with some good negotiation techniques here to ensure that I do discount discounted time today. But no, based on the work that we have to cover, I'm pretty sure that we should be finished first. Should be finished earlier. Like I said, with all the previous sessions, some people watch the recording, some people don't watch the recordings. Let me see if I have started the recording. I actually have started the recording. That's a surprise because I often forget. What I want to say is, because I'm not sure if people watch the recordings, I thought for every single set in the series of 3 of revision sessions, I will start with the layout of the formal test, so everybody sees what the format of the test would be, the type of questions. So you don't have to. Oh, which recording was it when we did that? Was it? I've included it at the start of each of the 3 recordings, and I'll upload the slides, which is a summary again of your slides that you have already. Monday, anytime from midnight all the way through the entire day. You've got 2 hours, however, when you start. It's like the test that you wrote for your modules in the first semester. And it's a variety of questions. I think there might be 2 case studies in it. I'm not 100% sure. I meant to check again this morning, but it's immaterial. It's straightforward. It's open book, but at least know where everything is in your book. Okay. Because if you're going to start scratching around trying to find, you might run out of time. You don't want that to happen. Right. So what did we do, and what is important in chapter 8? You'll see the top right corner. It says 8. That means chapter 8. And obviously, when there's a 9, we will be starting with chapter 9. There are certain personal selling skills that that is important to have as a salesperson. I think when we develop specific sales skills, I think it's important to see what, or take into consideration what the people we are selling to, what the buyers actually want from us. Usually, and studies that have been done have indicated that that buyers prefer that the people that they deal with, the salespeople that they deal with, that they actually are experts on the products that they're selling. I mean, yet you've got a better informed, and we saw that during yesterday's sessions, they are better informed consumers because they've got access to the internet, and they basically prepare themselves by studying the specific technical features of a product. So when they get to the point where you are doing a presentation to them or engaging in a sales conversation, they are prepared. Therefore, and we'll deal with that later in the chapter as well. They might have more specific objections because they have prepared, and that's part of effective. It's one of the important skills of a salesperson, that they have to be prepared. And prepared means that you have to study the products that you're selling, so you understand all the features, the benefits, and the advantages it can offer the prospect. It's also important that you understand what your competitors are offering. It also requires you to have a knowledge on the customers that you're dealing with. You have to be a good communicator, and to be a good communicator, you have to be able to listen attentively. You have to listen to what the customer says. Don't see the objection. We'll deal with the objections later in the chapter, but don't see an objection see objection as an opportunity to clarify concerns that the customer has. Don't see it as a personal attack, or don't see the objection as personal. If you have developed the skill of listening with attention, your efficiency or skill as an efficient communicator will definitely increase substantially. Solve problems. If you have identified the customer correctly, or the problems or the needs of the customer correctly, that's where you do customer profiling, and you you gather information on the prospect before you actually pick up the phone. If you understand the customer, and that's part of the preparation phase that is done at the start of any selling process. If you have gathered sufficient information on the customer, you will be able to identify exactly the environment they're in, what's valuable to them, what the challenges are, and then obviously you'll know what problems they are experiencing and what specific need you have. Because who wouldn't like their problem solved, right? I know at the moment the problems that most of you are faced with is, what questions are we going to get on Monday? Now, there's one way of solving that problem. You can ask me for the memo, okay? But that's not going to happen. But if I can offer you a solution to that problem, you'd be satisfied. You'll be very happy. I promise you, you will be. If I say, guys, there's a window of 5 minutes later this afternoon. I'm sorry for those who have not attended this session now, but the people who have attended the session, you guys will get an opportunity for 5 minutes at 3 o'clock this afternoon that I will give you a peek at the memo. That would be fantastic, eh? I mean, but that's me solving a problem that you have at the moment. That's not knowing what the question is going to be. It's unethical, but and that's why it's not going to happen. But it's an example of you knowing what the customer's problem is and knowing what will make the problem go away. Also, the ability to understand and satisfy the buyer's needs goes hand in hand with solving the problem. Thoroughness. Yes, there's nothing that buyers or prospects hate more than somebody that you can see that the presentation they're just doing this because they can tick that box. They're not heart and soul into it. Be thorough, and specifically with this we mean pay attention to detail. Ability to help in ensuring a reliable and a fast delivery of orders. Make sure that you don't overpromise. Rather over-deliver. Make sure that what you have committed to is possible before you commit to it. Right. Those are things that it's not skills or requirements that some clever scientists thought of and decided that, okay, let's put 6 bullet points of specific skills that all salespeople need. No, this is what buyers have indicated in the research they would prefer from their salespeople. Okay, so this is it's a different angle on just giving you salespeople must be able to do the following. Okay, been there, done that. Right, the sales, the whole sales cycle that you go through. Those steps that you see on the screen are the ones that we find in most of the sales transaction. They don't necessarily always appear in every situation, because if you do repeat business, I don't have to do a presentation and a demo for you again. Okay, so step number 3 will go out the window. If I've been thorough enough in my planning and my presentation, we can skip the negotiation phase. We'll go straight to the close after you have dealt with any objections. Sometimes the preparation has been thorough enough, so we don't have to do step number 4. You don't have any objections because I've been very clear, because I've prepared sufficiently, and therefore I actually addressed the issues because I was thorough in my preparation. And you actually don't have any objections. You quite, okay, right, where do I sign? So not all these steps are always present in every situation, but if it's a new product and a new prospect who doesn't know what you're offering and hasn't done any business with you prior to this point, these are usually the steps that you go through. Okay, opening. We'll deal with each of these individually. Opening means that first impression. You only have one opportunity to make that first impression. Make sure that those things that we see on the screen have been covered. Make sure that your appearance is fine. Make sure that you respect the time of the customer. In other words, be on time. Actually, be early. I can remember that, before I was actually in school, I think it was 5 or 6 years old. We lived in Clarksop in the northwest, and my dad worked amongst the farmers there. He was a consultant, and he traveled Kuruman and Maikeng and all those places. And occasionally, when it was a sort of a day trip, I went with him. And I can distinctly remember that's one of the lessons that I was learned very early on. And that didn't come through a hiding. It came just from observing what he did. If he had an appointment 9 o'clock with somebody and that person arrived at 9 o'clock, at 9:15, he would very politely say, "Sir, the appointment was for 9 o'clock. I set an hour aside for the business that we had to do based on what I planned. Basically, and that's still going to happen because if I go beyond 10 o'clock, you will be stealing time to the next customer." Okay. The buyer can take that whichever way they want. The fact of the matter is, they can either then leave and say, "Oh, geez, no, what an obnoxious individual," or they can say, "Okay, right, I understand that completely," because put yourself in the shoes of you being the 10 o'clock appointment who now have to wait because the 9 o'clock one was late. Okay, it's not fair. So respect the time of the customers. Smile, do a handshake, or do a fist bump, or do an elbow, whatever you do nowadays in isolation. And I believe that they are meeting sometime today to discuss maybe further easing of the restrictions. Can't say I'm too excited about that because we're not out the woods yet. But anyway, it's still good news because summer is around the corner and we don't want our beaches to be closed like last year. Introduce yourself. I'm so-and-so, I'm representing this and this company. Then, especially to people that you've never met before, that you've just spoken over the phone, be courteous. Pay attention to detail. Detail in your, we've got a visitor here on the 3rd floor on campus who's also joining us. It's a bird. Yeah, but the wind is howling outside. The weather has changed. This morning I left and I had a t-shirt and thing on, and unfortunately I had extra clothes in my car because, I mean, it just changed for the worse in the last hour or so. Make sure that you're not too familiar with the person. "Hi, Johnny, how are you doing?" You don't know Johnny. Johnny doesn't. You haven't done business with Johnny. Courteous and friendly and just being too much. You know what? You need to know where your boundaries are there. Okay, these are things that in your opening will help you to ensure people, how you dress. I've never judged people on how they on appearance, especially what they wear, and if they have tattoos or any body piercings. Well, that's your personal choice. But unfortunately, a lot of people are not like that. A lot of people will look you up and down and you haven't even stuck your hand out to greet them, and they would, in their minds, think, "Oh my word." Right. So don't wait for the opportunity when you open your mouth and you start your presentation to impress them. Get their attention from the start by appearing professional. Okay, that doesn't mean that you have to wear a jacket and tie in the middle of the winter if you are doing a presentation in Abu Dhabi, for instance. That's not going to, it's not functional, people. The second step would be to identify the problem that the customer have. Identifying the problem, ask the right questions. And you can ask two types of questions. You can ask open-end questions where they don't just have to give you a yes or a no, but they have to explain why they want more information or what specifically their problem is. Or you can ask closed questions, and that's questions that usually is done closer towards closing the sale, where you're giving people an option between A and B. Okay, not initially. Initially, you're asking questions that's open-ended so they can give you more information. With that information, you analyze that information and you use that to direct the rest of the conversation. Okay. The third step would be the one of the presentation itself and the demo. Don't sell the features. The customers know the features. Sell the benefits. That's why very often exhibitions is a very, very good platform to do a presentation or to do a sale or to expose your product and your company to the potential market, because it puts the customer in a position where they can actually they can see how the product works, they can touch the product, and they might even try it themselves. It's a vacuum cleaner, for instance. Then they can see how it works. They're going to be bored with all the technicalities of what the thing can do. But if you chuck some tomato sauce on a carpet and you suck it up with this vacuum cleaner and it disappears and it doesn't leave a stain, they're going to believe that this thing works. Okay. They will also be able to then do something themselves. Okay, maybe drop some red wine on it. Okay, that's going to be a tough one, but that should get most people sold if they actually make that red wine stain disappear. And then give it to them. I said, listen, there you go. Touch it, feel it, see how it works. See how light the whole vacuum cleaner is. I mean, easy to maneuver, whatever. That's a very good. It's a very good platform to actually sell a product, an exhibition. But the presentation, and if it can be done jointly with a demonstration, it has a much greater impact, because there are two types of benefits that customers have: the benefits that the product will give them and the benefits of the company that they're doing business with. If it's a reputable brand like a Samsung or a Bosch or a Miele or whatever, then people know, you know what, these guys, no, I know that they deliver quality products. Okay. Right, what next? Dealing with objections. People, like I said at the start of the session, objections is just customers saying to you, your presentation hasn't been thorough enough, I have a few questions, I want more information. That's all that is. What you read into that is that by the customer objecting, it actually, what's the positive in that? It indicates that they've been listening. Okay, so if they would not ask a question if they haven't been listening. Okay, they might not have been listening well enough, and therefore they're asking for more information. It might be something that you have to repeat that you've already said. That doesn't matter. They're asking for more information, and there are a few types of objections that we can quickly, I think I've got an image on the next screen, which will actually be easier. Types of objections that people that people come up with. Let's start right at the top. Listen and do not interrupt. Golden rule number one. If somebody says, but this and that about the product, let them finish. Don't interrupt. Don't. If you take the emotion out of it and you don't, Zasha, let me see. It's on page. Okay. Okay. It's somewhere chapter 8. This particular image is on page 217 in the under dealing with objections in the new 11th edition. Listen and do not interrupt. Listen to what the customer has to say. Let them finish. If it's a heated objection, even better to let them finish, because the longer they carry on, the less emotional it will probably be. Then they realize, okay, and then maybe sometimes people do it because they want to trigger a reaction, and they're not getting that reaction that they wanted, in you being engaging in a verbal fight. That's going nowhere. It's never. That doesn't work in any sales situation. Basically, in any situation, if you're going to just if you're going to attack as an approach to defend an objection, you're on a lose-lose. The straight denial. When somebody objects and say to you, but this product is so and so, and the competitors can, don't say, where did you hear that? That's a lot of nonsense. You should be listening and lending your ears out to everybody that posts things on Facebook or on Twitter or whatever. No, people, that's not that's not the way to react to an objection like that. If you can do a straight analysis, no, sir, I mean, that's actually not true. And the most recent research that I have, and this was published in so and so such a article, actually to the contrary, prove that is true. Okay, that's the way in which you actually react to a straight denial or to an objection, by denying what they have said, but also supporting the reason for your response. Forestalling an objection, that's where you anticipate in your planning what a customer might object to, and you either work that objection into your presentation by addressing it even before the customer raises it, but that sometimes is a bit dangerous because it might not be an objection that they would have raised, but now you've brought it to their attention and now it becomes an issue. Most often there are hidden objections. The hidden objection is mostly because they don't feel, they don't want to offend you. They don't want to disclose the real reason why they are not interested in your product. And therefore they use a sort of a trivial excuse. Be prepared for that, because that's the one that's most commonly used. That, and obviously the financial objection. Right. Sometimes the question objection is one that is raised quite often. That's usually when the objection is so generic that that you actually follow it up with a question yourself. Somebody's buying a car, and after you've done 2 or 3, done your presentation, they say, you know what, I don't like this. I don't like the look of this car. Now, that's a very generic objection. Okay, what specifically about the look? Is it the taillights, or is it what specifically don't you like? No, it's the upholstery, the patterns on the upholstery. You know what? Let's go to the catalog, because there's at least 5 different variations of patterns that you can select from. Okay, so very often an objection that is extremely generic is the one that is resolved by asking a question that will reveal the real reason why they object. Sometimes people have a genuine concern, a genuine objection. It's a very valid one. Then you just agree and confirm again the benefits that your product can offer. Don't go into an argument. Some battles, we said yesterday, are better if you just concede and say, you know what, you're quite right. Maybe this isn't the product for you. Maybe they raise that kind of objection because they can't afford the product at this point, but they don't want to admit that. That's where you park it. Don't waste any time on activities that is not profitable, and move on. You don't scratch that person off your list. You will just follow up in maybe a week's time, a month's time. I had a call again yesterday from the National Serious Institute. I've been contributing to them as a sponsor, and not that I even needed it, because I'm too scared of the sea. Or anyway, the areas that they will require for me to be rescued from. But unfortunately, I said my financial situation is as such at the moment that I can't do my normal contribution. And I said to the lady, it might change next month. So please, I mean, I support the cause, I believe in it, and I know everybody's struggling, including me. That's why I can't contribute now, but please give me a call in a month's time. And if I didn't mean it, I wouldn't have said that. But sometimes people, the timing is just not right. Will I contribute again in future? Yes, I will, of course. But it's similarly with a customer who's buying a vehicle, probably would like that vehicle right now, but can't really afford that after they've heard everything. But now that usually is you know that the person who makes an objection like that is actually ready to buy, just not at this point. Any questions? We've done chapter 8. We're all good? Where are we for time? Let me see. No, we're good. We're good. Let's continue with chapter 9. And if we finish in, would you like me to finish chapter 9 and then we finish everything and then we, rather than take a break and then resume with another session? Are we okay with that? Jaleese, Kaylee, Manalisi, what do you think? Should we just continue and finish what we've planned for today and then go home? This is your last period for the day. Are you happy with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the class captain representative has given the go-ahead. So let's go to chapter 9. Chapter 9 in your new textbooks would start on, oh my goodness, I can't find the page there. Somewhere on page 230, I think, 232, 231, 232, 233. Okay, finally got it. Chapter 9 in the new 11th edition starts on page 233. Now, what is key account management? Firstly, we need to identify what a key account is. Now, key account is often called a national account. That is basically a business that has a very high potential. And also, their needs are very complex. Okay, so they need a special attention because of the complexity of their needs. So you devote a key account manager to assist their specific needs because you know in the long run this is going to result in a lot of good business, or it's a customer that has high potential because they've been buying high volumes from you and the possibility is that it will increase. They need special attention. Okay, it's like a normal retail bank that has cashiers and consultants that deal with the normal members of public, and then you have a business banking section as well that attend to specific businesses and their needs, which are different to the average person on the street. Okay, so a key account is a customer or a buyer, whichever you want to refer to, that needs special attention, or who deserves special attention, or who you want to give special attention to because of their great potential and mutual potential. You eventually want your key account to form a strong long-term relationship with your key accounts, and we'll see that in chapter 10, which is obviously not for your test, that you want that relationship to become one, and that you actually almost sort of, you remain different businesses, but you almost merge all your activities. Looking out for each other. You're more than just a buyer-seller scenario. This is a level where a lot of work is shared, a lot of functions eventually is shared when the trust or relationship has grown to that point where there's intense mutual trust. Let's look at advantages and disadvantages from a key account management from a seller's point of view and then also from a customer's point of view. What are the advantages of key account management from a seller's point of view? It means that you have a very close relationship with your buyers because you have a devoted team that works with a specific buyer. There's definitely a better flow. There's definitely shared cost, and obviously there's a reduction in cost as a result of that in your budget, but also there's an increase in sales. It goes without saying. You have to be cautious, however. There are a few potential dangers, and one is that it puts pressure on your profit margins, because if you spend a lot of time and effort and key account managers are very special individuals. It's not just a next step after you've after you've been promoted from a normal sales consultant to a sales manager, and now you become a key account manager. We'll see in the last slide today that there are very specific skills that is expected from key account managers to be effective. And that means that you have to appoint specialists, because that's what they are, and it will obviously cut into your profits. It can also it can also impact on the services that you offer to your other customers, because you're putting a lot of you are devoting a lot of attention to a specific customer. And that's why it's always good to not sacrifice one of your existing staff members, but maybe get a specialist in to deal with your key accounts. Or, as we'll see later on in the chapter, establish a key account section in your sales division that just deals with that 20% of the customers that produce 80% of your turnover. Okay. Otherwise, the smaller accounts, the smaller businesses, your smaller customers will feel neglected. What are the advantages for a customer? The advantage for a customer is that they're getting a 5-star service. There's better communication between buyer and seller. They can actually maybe even negotiate special terms, extended credit, and very often, as we've identified on the first slide in chapter 9, because of the complex nature of their needs, they can actually get customized products designed specifically for them. The dangers for the customer is that they start relying too much on a specific supplier. If something happens to that supplier, very often you have problems. There's also a complacency that can set in, because especially in the quality of service that you offer, and I think the greatest challenge for customers are that they become complacent, because they become used to a certain way in which a supplier services them. And then they will almost to the point where they will accept certain discrepancies, and when there is when there's a drop in the quality of service, they just, well, they'll be better again next month, because that's usually a red flag sign that something is not 100% right. Because if you are a key account, they will ensure that even if that is the case, that they are struggling, that because of the relationship of trust, they will share it with you, because that's what you expect from a situation like this, where you have forged a very solid relationship of trust with a supplier, and you expect them that if there are problems that they will share it with you, and you not wake up one morning and be surprised and then have to close your business a couple of months later. But also from this chapter, I think it's on page 2 in the I'm not sure, 276, I think, around about there in the old the 10th edition, but I think on page 242 and 243. 242, you'll find your traditional buyer-seller relationship. That is where the salesperson is communicating directly with the buyer. Nobody else is involved. Two businesses have all the different departments. Yes, marketing, engineering, logistics, and finance, and whatever, research and development, but they don't communicate directly with each other. It's the buyer and the seller that communicate. That was a traditional, and that's why, because of the shape, it was referred to as the bow tie buyer-seller relationship. More on that, and traditionally. Nowadays, because and especially in situations where you're dealing with key accounts, you have a key account manager who coordinates the communication between the different functions of the buyer and the seller. On the left-hand side, you'll have the functions that's offered by the seller. On the right-hand side, the functions offered by the buyer. They're in direct contact with and communication with each other, but it's coordinated by a key account manager. That's the diamond shape buyer-seller relationship that is very common or very commonly used for key accounts. Key account management, and specifically the key account management model. It's also page 243 through to 245 in your new textbook. And basically, there are different levels that you go through in this relational development model. That is basically a model that takes you through the different phases that forming the relationship with the key account goes, up to the point where you have your level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the synergistic level, where basically the businesses haven't merged, but they are almost operate as one. Okay, the research department from the one company, from the buyer, would actually identify something, and they would share that with the seller, with their research guys, because that means that they can produce a better product, which will benefit the buyer and will benefit the seller because they will sell more. Okay, so you get to that synergistic point, but before that, in your pre-cam phase, you are just eyeing each other. It's like the first 5. When it's a Mike Tyson fight, it was the first 5 minutes, and then he just knocked the guy out. But usually, it's the first couple of rounds in a boxing match that guys are sussing each other out. And it's also the same that happens in most sporting events. First couple of minutes, people are just getting used to the environment and the team they're playing against, and nobody just out the blocks 100 miles an hour and play all their cards in the first 5 minutes. But they're sussing each other out and see if there's a potential that this could become a very important account, a key account. They start exploring the different cultures, and once they have identified that maybe this is, excuse me, this is a potential key account, they start doing research on that particular buyer, on that particular customer, to find out what the mutual benefits might be from forming such a relationship. Then, as the relationship strengthens, they get to the point where they trust each other sufficiently that they want to, in a natural progression in such a relationship, start increasing the mutual activities that they do. And then eventually it becomes a sort of a partnership. They are still separate businesses, but they do a lot of joint problem solving. They even share some very sensitive information, because that is the step right before they become almost synergistic. That's where you want your relationship with your key account to be. If you've done your work correctly, that's where you will be. It does, however, happen that relationships, we know, many relationships don't work out, and it could also be the case with a key account. Usually uncoupling, as that specific phase is referred to, is when there's been a change in ownership, for instance, or change in personnel. Very often the basis of this relationship of trust that has been formed between buyer and seller in key account management is because of a specific individual and the manner in which a specific individual or individuals from the two different groups, buyers and sellers, have clicked. There are some people that immediately if you say something, will understand what you mean, and you obviously are going to, you'd prefer to continue working with somebody like that, almost mirroring what you do. It helps to grow a relationship very quickly, and you want that with your key accounts, but it doesn't always work out, and then the uncoupling happens. What we've just said you can also find on the next slide, that's on page 244 in the new textbooks, and 278 in the old ones. You'll find that is just the illustration. You'll see that initially there's the level of involvement that the buyer has with the customer is very low, and then it increases as the relationship strengthens until you get to that point right at the top where there's a very strong relationship, and the involvement between buyer and seller is very high. That's your fifth and final phase, your synergistic key account management phase. Key accounts relationships are built on 3 specific activities or functions that they perform for each other, or where there's mutual grounds. Firstly, it's personal trust. Trust that whatever the one party says, they are actually going to do, because that's what you expect from a solid relationship. There could be technical support, especially from the supplier, where they do commit themselves to training, regular updates in research and training of the staff, not just of their own staff to sell the product, but also of the buyer staff, so they can use the product correctly and safely. And then also key accounts, buyers and sellers in a relationship share resources, especially on that partnership and a synergistic level. Anybody, any questions? Because we're almost done. You're still okay? You're still strong? Let me check. What are we doing for time? Oh, yeah. We've got 5 minutes to go, and then we're finished. Any questions? Anybody? Apart from the memo, which I'm not going to give you. Okay. I think over the last couple of days, for those who've been attending sessions and for those who have watched the recordings, I have sort of given you feedback, indirect feedback on your assignment, because the chapters that we've covered were also, or some of the chapters were also covered in the assignment. Okay, I'll give you formal feedback with our next session. Hopefully we can do that on Monday. I can give you feedback on the assignments individually. Hey, I've marked 7 of, no, I've marked, there's 16 submitted, and I think I've marked 11. Yeah. I would have been finished if it wasn't for the supplementary exams. 3 groups wrote the supplementary exams on Monday. 3. Consumer and 3 of my other modules as well on the same day. Yeah, first, second, and 30th. So I've been marking the last couple of days, which is good, because it sets me in a good mind, frame of mind for marking the assignments. And I've got some other assignments to mark as well for another first-year group. I'll be done with all the marking. I'll give you feedback next week on your F2, on your assignment. Okay, but everything that we've said so far in how win worldwide, opening, we did it yesterday with international selling. I mean, and we've addressed all the questions indirectly through the revision session that we've done this week. Okay. But I'll look at the memo and discuss that with you next week when I give you feedback. Right, to finish off. Now that looks like something, that looks like my cell phone screen. Okay, that spider web kind of image, okay, which is actually not a correct screen, it's just a screensaver. But before you're confused, the 6 at the top basically are key success factors for key account management. And the ones at the bottom are linked with them. In other words, for key accounts, a key account success factor is the key account manager must be a suitable person, because he's coordinating all the communication between the two, the buyer and the seller. So he has to have, number 1 at the bottom, integrity and interpersonal skills, the correct personality, okay, and understand the cultures of the two businesses. That's why it's not just a normal salesperson that's now being promoted to say, right, go manage that particular account. Secondly, to be successful, in-depth knowledge of and understanding of the key account customer's business. You have to understand the culture of that business. For you, because that will allow you to, number 2 at the bottom, anticipate future needs. Thirdly, you have to be committed to the partnership. You can't waste time and resources in building a relationship and then at the end of the day, nothing comes from it. Okay. If you are committed to the partnership, you will ensure that proper training happens, that you do go out your way to resolve problems so you can build that relationship. You will devote the correct resources and time to all the activities. Number 4, delivering value. Nobody, if there's no value, mutual value, then why enter into a relationship like this? Understand the needs of the customer, understand the cross-functional, the different, remember the diamond shape? Understand the cross-functional needs. What is finance in what's the needs of the financial department in the seller's financial department and the buyer's financial department? You as the key account manager is the person who coordinates that. You need to know what both of them want, what both of them are capable of doing. You need to have a look in, you basically have both their budgets and you are balancing both their budgets. For that to happen, you need number 5, you need trust, because you're going to be sharing very confidential information. And finally, you need to be able to properly implement key account and all the aspects required from key account management. Sharing of resources. Remember what we said on the previous slide? Sharing resources, personal trust, technical support, being the 3 main ones. That's what we refer to in number 6. Anybody, any questions? Are you sure? Some of you have done it already, but pick up your pace. It's weekend, and you've done well. Congratulations. You've survived the first 7 weeks of semester 2. On Saturday, people, it's not just a day where the Springboks play the All Blacks, where Man City plays Chelsea. Gonna enjoy that one. But it's 3 days till Christmas. That puts things into context. Today is officially 100 days till the end of the year. People, time management, absolutely crucial. But it is long weekend. It means that you have, despite the fact that you have a test on Monday, because there are other groups who are writing tests on Monday as well, it's not just you. Use the extra day, manage your time efficiently. I can't see that you will have any problems with the paper. A lot of the things that we have covered, I think you'll admit that we have you have at some point in modules that I've taught you, business management in the first year or business marketing in the first year and consumer behavior in the first semester, were very few of what we did is new to you. Okay. Are we all good? Is everybody fine?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Man, Leslie, I'm so good that you, I'm so grateful that you actually are fine, because that is where you should be at the start of the weekend. It's the end of the day for you. It's the end of the week for you. Good luck with the test on Monday. As I said, I've got full confidence in you based on what you have produced to me in your assignments, that you should not. And look at the assignment again. You have it. You don't have the answers, but from the marks I got, that for those that I've marked already, the marks are high. So I mean, you've done well. So look at the assignment again as well. And I have addressed actually to sort of hidden between everything that we've did in the last 3 sessions, the answers to the questions, because there were very few questions in your assignment that required that you couldn't find in your textbook. You obviously have to do some research on the product itself, and there's quite a range of products, and I thank you for that, because you've done some good work there. But please enjoy the weekend, stay safe, make good decisions, find a good balance, find a good partner to have a nice braai with, and let's celebrate Heritage Day tomorrow. Find somebody, find something to be proud of, or that you are proud of, and celebrate. Okay, might even be somebody that we've lost during COVID, but that has been important to us and have left a legacy that we are proud of. Okay, people, good luck. As I said, you are probably not going to attend Monday afternoon session, the 10th period, because some of you might use that specific period to actually write the test. I'll be fair, because I mean, I'd much rather do that on Wednesday then.
Oh,
Okay.
so what you saying, no class?
The question from Zasha is, am I saying that there's no class on Monday? I'm not saying there's no class on Monday, because classes continue throughout the test period, but I'm pretty sure that do you have other classes on Monday?
Yeah.
Well, so you'll be attending other classes on Monday, so you can probably then.
Mondays are quiet days. Only you and one.
Okay. People, I will not mark you absent if you are not in class on Monday, because you are using that time on Monday to actually do your test. Okay. Just remember 2 things. I had a student again yesterday. So I didn't finish. I said, yeah, but you started at 11:15. You've already stolen 1.5 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes of your own time. It's a 2-hour timed online open book quiz. It means that if you start after 10 o'clock on Monday evening, you're not going to finish. Okay. Not that you should have any trouble with the time. Right. All good? Everybody fine? A thumbs up would be good, or a yes, I'm fine will be fine. Right, I'm going to stop the recording now.